A horrific revenge of a ghost. Why is the poltergeist chasing a young woman? Don't miss out. The psychics will uncover a terrifying crime. Welcome to Psychic Investigations, a channel of true and impressive stories. Here, people who call themselves clairvoyants investigate tangled criminal cases and incredible paranormal phenomena. This is Natalia from Ukraine. She is 28 and she thinks about death every day.
Since my husband Mikhailo died, I've been afraid that I will end up with him in the other world, and my child will be an orphan.
The woman is convinced that after his death, Mikhailo took her second husband to the other world and is now trying to kill Natalia herself.
He appeared in my dream, saying he wouldn't give me to anyone and I would die soon.
Natalia met Mikhailo 4 years ago, but shortly after the wedding, the heart of the healthy 36-year-old man suddenly stopped.
His blood pressure shot up. We called an ambulance, but his heart simply stopped.
The couple lived in marriage for only a year. At the moment of her husband's death, Natalia was 7 months pregnant. Premature labor occurred on the day of Mikhailo's funeral.
Oxygen wasn't reaching the baby. My kidneys started to fail.
Doctors saved Natalia and her son, but the boy was born very weak.
He's handicapped. He's got cerebral palsy.
She cried all the time, but then she found strength in herself and pulled herself together because she understood that she had to live on for the sake of her son.
Constantly visiting doctors with her baby, Natalia often had to call a taxi. One day, her old acquaintance Victor turned out to be their driver. He began to help Natalia and support her and her little son.
It's hard to find someone like him who will treat someone else's child as his own, especially since the child is handicapped.
Natalia decided to create a new family, but she couldn't even imagine that she would stay alone again.
Victor died. His heart stopped.
Natalia believes that it was Mikhailo who took Victor to the other world because the day before it happened, he appeared in her dream again and said that he wouldn't give her to anyone.
I felt like I was suffocating. I was shaking a lot.
The woman is sure that in his desire to be with her, the deceased Mikhailo will take her to the other world as well. The first time this thought occurred to Natalia was when she felt a strong push in the back in an empty gym.
I hit hard and couldn't get up because I hurt my head badly.
Natalia was taken to the hospital with a concussion.
Please help me.
Clairvoyants Yana Pasinkova and Olga Kalinova responded to Natalia's plea for help.
I had a very strange dream. I was standing in a large room. Next to me, there was a couple of newlyweds. When I approached them, I saw the groom giving the bride a glass. The woman took a sip and fell dead. And the man leaned over her and watched her die. And after she fell dead, another woman appeared in front of the man in a white dress, but she was beheaded.
What I see is a road and a car standing on it. A couple, a man and a woman, argue. I look ahead. Oh God. There's a dead child lying on that road.
This is unbelievable. The window opened itself.
Yana, it's the spirit of a man. He's saying something. It's all my fault. Reveal the secret of the murder.
What murder does he mean?
I don't understand it.
20 minutes later, the psychics are at Natalia's.
Natalia was coming out of the building, and right next to her, I saw the spirit of a little girl in a yellow dress. When she noticed I was looking at her, the girl disappeared. At that moment, I couldn't even imagine why she had come.
Thank you so much for agreeing to help me.
It's terrible what you've been through.
The card of the murder. Was your Mikhailo a murderer?
No.
We need something that belonged to him.
Sure, I have his things at home.
This is incredible. A flower pot fell from the windowsill.
The spirit has come. Natalia's deceased husband, Mikhailo, was standing next to her.
I felt Mikhailo's presence. I felt him touch me.
He says, "Please stop this, or else Artem will stay all alone."
It's our son.
He's asking you to find the man who is the murderer.
The man who is the murderer. Who's that?
Mikhailo's spirit kept repeating, "I have to go. You must save her. I beg you. I am not a murderer."
Does it mean the deadly danger is not coming from Mikhailo? Then what force is threatening Natalia's life and has already taken 2 of her husbands to the other world?
This is what I see. A man standing. He holds you like this. First, he holds you by the throat. It hurts a lot and you're terrified. It gets dark in your eyes. He's strangling you. Who is this?
It's my first husband, Vitaly.
Natalia was married to Vitaly for less than a year, and a year after divorcing him, she started dating Mikhailo. And just like the other 2, Natalia's first husband died under mysterious circumstances.
Vitaly is no longer there. What does this mean?
He died.
This is horrifying. This young woman has already lost 3 husbands in less than a decade.
Did he abuse you badly?
Natalia says that after the wedding, Vitaly changed rapidly. From a loving husband, he turned into a real monster.
We divorced.
Could it be Vitaly who's taking your husbands to the other world? Because he was very angry with you during his life. Bring me his photo. I see you run into a house. Take a shirt and carry it somewhere. Did someone tell you to do something? Did you cast a love spell on him?
I went to see a woman who reads cards. She spread the cards and said I had grief. I had it and I would have it. And she told me to bring my husband's shirt.
Natalia decided to see the fortune teller when Vitaly started behaving aggressively.
I wanted him to be as attentive and helpful to me as he had been before the wedding.
He says he didn't go because of magic.
Vitaly was also a victim of the same entity.
His heart stopped.
All the 3 husbands' hearts stopped suddenly. What is this force that's been taking Natalia's husbands to the other world?
Natalia, who is the woman in a white dress standing next to you?
But there is no woman in white in the photo.
I don't see anybody.
Like you, she's wearing a beautiful white dress like a bride. However, this woman is holding her head in her hands.
Think about your dream.
The beheaded woman. What is this place?
We married there.
Could it be related to the place you were at?
Let's go.
This is the famous Palermo castle, built back in the 11th century.
I feel the presence of an otherworldly force here. I need my candles.
What's going on? It seems like someone knocked the candles out of Olga Kalinova's hands.
I see the girl in the yellow dress again. She's little. She disappeared again.
The staff of the castle staff saw the psychics out of the window and hurried.
My name is Oksana. I'm a tour guide in the castle.
We need to find this place. Can you take us there?
Yes, it's the upper courtyard.
Natalia, was it here?
There was the spirit of the beheaded woman in the white dress there.
Not only people with psychic abilities see her.
Tourists claim to see something in the photos, and I've seen it too.
The woman lives here. She's bound to this place. She says, "I am looking for the groom, and I will find him." She's also a widow. She was a very powerful woman. She saved people.
Ilona Zrinyi. She commanded the defense of the castle for almost 3 years. She saved the residents of the city and the surrounding villages.
Historians say that Ilona Zrinyi was one of the few female military leaders in medieval Europe. After her husband was captured, she defended her castle against Austrian troops for 3 years.
But why is she beheaded?
She died in Turkey, and in the early 20th century, her remains were reburied, but only part of the skeleton was found.
The skull was missing, wasn't it?
Yes.
In 1688, Ilona Zrinyi signed a capitulation because she could no longer defend the castle. After that, she and her children were taken to Vienna. There, she was sent to a monastery, and her son and daughter were taken away. Later, she went to Turkey to free her husband from captivity. The princess died in a foreign land from a deadly disease. When a decision to rebury her body in the family crypt was made, it turned out that someone had stolen her skull.
But why is she looking for a groom?
Ilona says that this groom is not a match for her daughter. He's an enemy and should be feared.
After Ilona Zrinyi capitulated, her daughter Juliana married an Austrian officer, and Ilona Zrinyi fought against the Austrian Empire.
The man killed her daughter, and now she's looking for him here.
Probably.
It turned out that the Austrian emperor ordered the killing of both of Ilona Zrinyi's heirs, so that the descendants of the great dynasty would not grow up and rebel against him. The woman's son was saved, but her daughter was indeed married off to an enemy, and after the closed wedding in the castle, she was never seen again.
I feel that the girl's groom poisoned her.
She wishes revenge. She says, "You need to find the man who is the murderer."
You were supposed to die near this castle. But another couple took the death upon themselves.
We were supposed to go for a photo shoot after the ceremony, but it so happened that the schedule shifted, and another couple went instead of us.
They went instead of you, and they are both dead.
Yes, their car crashed.
Natalia's wedding ceremony was supposed to end at noon. However, her parents forgot the rings at home, and Natalia arranged to swap with the couple who were after them. Later, she learned that the car with the couple was heading to the same church where she and her husband were supposed to go. But on the way, a truck crashed into it. The newlyweds died on the spot.
I thought that maybe this couple of newlyweds could be taking revenge on Natalia from the other world because they died because of her. Let's check out that place.
A man appears in front of the newlyweds' car. He's dead.
This man was hit on the road, and his heart stopped from fear.
As our journalists found out, an accidental killing indeed happened on this stretch of the road. The driver of the car in which the newlyweds were traveling lost control and hit a man crossing the road.
After his death, his spirit has been bound to this spot. He stops cars with loving couples to find his killer, thereby provoking new accidents.
I didn't do anything bad to him, so why was I supposed to be in that accident?
You were supposed to be there because some force is hunting you. Do you understand it? This is it that sets such deadly traps in your life.
The spirit of this man had nothing to do with what was happening to Natalia. However, I still performed a ritual so he could no longer provoke accidents.
There was a reason we sensed the accident. The crash that happened here is related to another very terrible wreck.
Did you lose anybody in a car accident?
My mother died in a car crash. She was in a car with a man, and they had a wreck.
Natalia's mother and her friend were returning from work with a bus. The driver survived, but the woman died on the spot.
Your mother is here and she wants to hug you. She says, "Baby, I miss you so much."
Mommy, I miss you too. When Olga hugged me, it felt exactly like how my mom hugged me when I was little.
The same force that killed Natalia's husbands took her mother to the other world. She says, "This force must be stopped. We died because of it." We?
Dad died too.
It's unbelievable. After everything Natalia had to go through, she also lost her father. A completely healthy man suddenly started bleeding internally. Natalia immediately called an ambulance, but the doctors couldn't save him.
It still hurts.
Your mother says you need to return to your home.
Let's go.
Natalia, I see your mother again, and she's not alone. She's holding a little girl by the hand. I've seen the girl earlier today. She's wearing a yellow dress. I can't understand who she is.
The girl says, "I feel guilty for killing those you love."
She has blonde curly hair, green eyes, and she's wearing a yellow dress.
I don't know who she is. Why is she killing my relatives and loved ones?
She's bound to your family because of a curse.
What curse? By whom?
By a woman.
Who is that woman?
Quiet. The girl. She says she was killed. Tell me, who killed you? She says your father killed her.
Now I get it. It wasn't my father's fault. He was driving the car, and this girl ran onto the road. He swerved, but he still hit her.
Yes, your father didn't mean it. It was an accident.
And now I understand that it was his spirit that visited me in the morning. Reveal the secret of the murder. I see a woman who looks very much like you. She tells your father, "May everyone in your family die, and my child always follow your family."
This is the girl's mother.
These words worked like a curse. The child is suffering because she's forced to take people to the other world, and she can't find peace because of this.
Water. Have some water.
Please help me.
We'll try to break the curse. Ask for forgiveness from the bottom of your heart.
I'm asking you and your parents to forgive me for what my father did. I have a son growing up, and I fear for his life. I can't imagine what I would do if this happened to my child. I'm sincerely asking for forgiveness.
I no longer see the girl here, and I don't feel her. She's left this world.
Let me hug you. You're a strong woman.
I'm really grateful to you.
An incredibly tragic story. If it impressed you, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. Many more amazing stories are coming up. The Widow's Street. A mystical force takes away beloved husbands from women. Who awakened the otherworldly killer? And for what sins is he punishing these people? Welcome to Psychic Investigations, a channel of true and shocking stories. Here, people who call themselves psychics, through their extraordinary abilities, solve tangled criminal cases and shocking paranormal puzzles. In this episode, the psychics will challenge an unknown mystical force that has taken the two closest people of Tatiana Kapitsa from Ukraine. The woman wrote about it in the letter she sent us.
Some evil spirit with mutilated face lives in my house. It has killed my husband and son. I'm next. Help me.
It all started after the family bought the house. Nobody could even think the house would become a deadly trap.
The house was quite old-fashioned, and its price suited us perfectly. We even had some money left to have it renovated.
However, several days after the family moved in, while her daughter was at school and her husband and son were at work, Tatiana saw the silhouette with the mutilated face. It suddenly appeared at the door.
I was standing in front of the mirror applying makeup when I saw a female silhouette. I closed my eyes, but when I opened them, it was gone.
After that, Tatiana's son Victor saw the creepy silhouette in the house. The spirit's face was covered with scars. It disappeared as unexpectedly as it had appeared, and the next day, the young man went to his work at the store and vanished without a trace.
I work at a pension fund. The store he worked at is next door. I knew it was his shift, so I went there, but they told me he was absent.
Friends, relatives, and the police. Everybody searched for Victor, but couldn't find him anywhere. Tatiana thought she would never see her son alive. Nevertheless, 8 months later, he suddenly came home.
He came on August 30th. I was so happy to see him because he was my child.
The 25-year-old man couldn't explain what had happened to him or where he had been. The mother thought Victor had suffered partial memory loss.
I thought he needed to spend some time at the hospital to be all right again.
But the next morning, the mother was informed that her son's heart had stopped all of a sudden.
They called me and said, "We are sorry, but your son is dead." I wanted to tell him how much I loved him. There were many things I wanted to tell him.
Sometime later, Tatiana's husband, an absolutely healthy man, died suddenly.
I went to the kitchen and saw him sitting and trying to stand up. Then he fell and started rasping. It was terrible. And then I realized he was dead.
The man's heart also stopped.
I don't know what to compare this feeling to. I understand he's not here, but I can't believe it. And then Valeria came running. She'd heard it too, and she said, "Mom, call an ambulance." And I wanted to tell her the ambulance wouldn't help.
Not long before his death, The man confessed to his wife that, like their son, he also constantly felt somebody's presence next to him and had seen a shadow of a terrifying man.
He feared. He felt he could die.
The woman is certain that some kind of otherworldly force with the mutilated face has taken her family members, and it was it that turned their home into a horror house.
When I lie in bed at night, and it's dark and quiet in the house, I hear footsteps in the attic. It's terrifying. It's really terrifying.
Tatiana and her daughter have no money to move somewhere else, and people refuse to buy the house in which 2 men died under mysterious circumstances. The woman is afraid that the evil force will take her to the other world next.
If something happens to me, Valeria will have to live in an orphanage. I beg the psychics to help me to sort out what is going on here.
The strongest psychics of the project, Jana Shulakova and Rubina Cybulska, answered the woman's request for help.
I had a very strange dream. There was a great lake, a valley, and a little pathway. My late grandmother was standing on it. She said, "Find the head and stop the death."
I'm going to work with my mirror. A woman kneeled on the ground, holding a young man in her arms. He's holding his hands to his heart and dying. I hear her shout, "He's been killed!" And next to her, I see the silhouette with the mutilated face, holding a wedge.
It sounds like the killing of a vampire. But what connection does it have with Tatiana and her family?
I don't know. But this spirit with the mutilated face is very aggressive and dangerous. Ah! Oh God.
What a terrible thing! The huge chandelier almost killed Rubina Cybulska.
The spirit did it. The one holding the wedge. Look.
We must be very careful today.
The psychics went to Tatiana's. The woman greets the psychics together with her daughter, Valeria. Their friends and neighbors are also here to support them.
Hello? Hello.
Thank you so much for coming. We need your help badly.
Could we please see the yard?
Sure, come on in.
I see some kind of spirit from the other world go through this gate. It looks like somebody's silhouette. Did you see it?
Yes, the gate opens itself. Some force opens the gate. Say, when I wish to go outside, the door opens.
It's very heavy.
Yes, it's sound. It can't be wind.
And the steps, the noises, and you see somebody walk.
Yes, it did happen. I had a feeling as if someone were breathing behind me, like they were following me. It really happened.
Give me your hand. When I touched Tatiana's hand, I suddenly saw her son's spirit behind her. Your son is standing behind you.
Yes, I feel him. I felt warmth when he put his hand on my shoulder. It was glorious.
He says, "Mom, I miss you too."
Victor, son, I love you and miss you so much.
I asked Victor what was the spirit with the mutilated face that had taken him to the other world and why it had done it. And he showed me a woman. She was hysterically shouting out something, like a curse or something.
Suddenly, Rubina Cybulska started running somewhere.
Rubina, wait.
His spirit entered this gate. People?
There seems to be nobody there. It's locked.
The locals say a woman named Hannah lives here. Tatiana bought the house she lives in from her, and before that, Ole, the neighbor's son, had lived in it. After the man got married, he moved to the town, and his mother sold the house. But why did the spirit bring the psychics here?
Do you know the people who live here?
Yes, we bought the house from them.
I see a man. He's standing at the door and holding his hands to his heart.
Who died here?
Uncle Kolya, the owner.
Is your neighbor a widow, too?
Yes, Aunt Hannah is a widow.
What was the cause of the owner's death?
The heart.
It turned out the neighbor's husband died in 2010. He went to bed at night and never woke up. The doctors concluded that his heart had suddenly stopped.
2 men there, 1 man here, and all because of their hearts.
Could it be connected with the land on which both houses stand?
It's connected to a woman. She's dark-haired and dark-eyed, and she looks like a gypsy.
Ole is Ukrainian, but his wife is a gypsy.
Ole is your neighbor's son, and his wife is a gypsy. Did I get it right?
Yes.
There was something in this family that caused a great scandal.
Well, it was really so, but I don't think I have the right to tell you this.
Off the record, Tatiana confessed that after she bought the house, her neighbor's son left his wife and returned to his parents, while his ex-wife stayed in the town.
It was a great row, and I feel that the situation isn't over yet. There have been offenses and scandals here.
The locals told us that Ole's ex-wife often came to her mother-in-law and her ex-husband's house, shouting and cursing. Did the abandoned woman want to take revenge on him, but didn't know the house had been sold? Did this woman's relatives become accidental victims of the war between the ex-spouses?
This evil force is seen not only by the people who live in this area.
I saw a shadow pass by the window. Once, and then a couple of minutes later was the second time. I wasn't the only one who saw it, but another girl saw it too.
What's that girl's name?
Yana.
Hold on a second. Did you lose your father?
It'll be a year on the 17th.
Did he die the same way suddenly?
Yes, my father died because of his heart. A blood clot broke off.
Another man from your family is dying on the grave.
It's Dad's brother, my uncle. 2 days ago was 6 months since his death.
Did he also die because of the heart?
Yes.
This is incredible. Within just a year, the girl lost 2 men from her family. Her uncle had a heart attack on his brother's grave.
I feel this girl's father and uncle were killed by the same supernatural force as the one that took the lives of Tatiana's husband and son and her neighbor's husband. But the girl lives on the opposite end of the street, and she couldn't be connected with the houses of these women. As such, the problem definitely wasn't in the gypsy woman's curse. Jana, what happened?
At some point, I felt powerful anguish, but I couldn't understand who was emanating it. When I turned around, I suddenly saw a woman. There's a man spirit behind you. You don't live, you exist. You loved him a lot, but he left. He left you unexpectedly.
This woman's name is Yulia, and she's also a widow. Her husband, Pavlo, also died abruptly because his heart stopped.
He came back home in the morning after the night shift and went to bed. At 3:45, I found him dead. It was very hard.
After her beloved husband died, the woman has been raising 2 children, a daughter, Valeria, and a son, Dimitro, all alone.
You see him often, very often. You live in a dream.
I live in a dream with him, as if we're still living together. He comes back home from work and plays with the kids. He wanted a 3rd child a lot, so in my dream, we have the 3rd child. It's like living 2 lives. One is in a dream, and the other is in reality.
Pavlo was under 40. Yulia was devastated by the man's mysterious passing. The woman only lives with one thought on her mind. Why did her children's father, who never had any problems with his health, die so suddenly?
He never complained about his heart and never had any ailments. He had medical checkups at work, and he was completely healthy.
Give me your hand. In the dream, he's trying to warn you that your son may die next. Your son sees and feels a threat. There's fear.
Dimitro confessed to his mother that, like his father did before his death, he sees a strange shadow in the house. Afraid that she could lose her son, the woman sent him to live with his grandmother.
He fears to sleep and stay here. He hears rapping on the windows, walking, and some unexplained noises, though it's all quiet in the room.
I was shocked. A spirit emerged behind almost every woman around me.
How many widows live in this street?
There were 20 of us, in almost every house.
It's impossible to even comprehend. There's a widow living in almost every house.
After another funeral, you think involuntarily who else has stayed and who is going to be next.
We want peaceful lives.
Almost all the female residents of the street have gathered around the psychics. They spent 2 hours telling the psychics about their husbands, who died abruptly.
This is impossible. A widow, a widow, a widow, a widow. Your street is flooded with tears. Almost every woman around us was a widow, and those who hadn't lost their husbands yet had buried their brothers or fathers. The evil spirit with the mutilated face hunted men only.
What should we do? Please help us.
Suddenly, Rubina Cybulska went to the end of the street and found a glade.
My God, I hear moaning. It sounds like it's coming from the underground. It's necrotic energy, it's like a calling. I asked the locals to excavate the spot. I needed to understand where the call for help was coming from.
A skull. A skull.
Don't touch it.
Dear God.
The spirit might be highly aggressive.
We went to a safe distance to tune in and understand who that dead man whose skull we'd found was.
I had a feeling as if I were falling into a grave. Then the spirits of men began emerging around us. They were all thin and exhausted. Like zombies.
What kind of place is this?
There used to be Palermo here. They sold drugs here.
It turned out that this street used to be notorious throughout the Soviet Union. Back then, there was one of the biggest spots for the production and sale of drugs in it. This place was even called Palermo, after a famous TV show about Italian drug cartels.
The trade was thriving. Huge crowds frequented here. People came here on crutches and even rolling each other on wheelchairs.
The street's current residents began settling here in the mid-90s. Prior to it, most houses were occupied by drug dealers. Addicts from everywhere arrived here for the drugs.
They looked terrible. They were real zombies. They indeed were like living dead. They took out the bodies of dead addicts, corpses, twice a week. It happened all the time. They died everywhere.
Who sold the drugs? Why do I only see women?
The women did it.
Oh my God, it's so awful.
It turned out that all of it is terrible truth. The men were in charge of delivering the drugs, while the women made and sold them.
The women made and sold the drugs.
The people are still shocked that, for 10 years straight, the law enforcers didn't even try to close Palermo down. It turned out that the addicts' bodies weren't only found along the street, but also in the local pond, which has dried out with time, becoming a field. This is precisely where the psychics are standing right now.
How old were we? 9 or 10, probably? We ran around all the local water bodies and reeds. We saw people lying face down in the water and understood they weren't alive. I, personally, found 2 bodies.
There were plenty of them half dead. In the pond, in the ravine over there, anywhere. I'm only talking about those who were found, and how many weren't found. This dead pond, I'm certain there are lots of them in it.
So this is the lake I saw in my dream. And this is the head my grandma was talking about. The otherworldly force with the wedge in its hands appeared here. What kind of entity is it? And why is it killing men only?
Do you remember I told you about a woman crying over a man? A woman kneeled on the ground, holding a young man in her arms. He's dying in front of her. I hear her shouting that he's been killed. It happened right at this place.
Yes.
It turned out that the people remember a story of a woman who brought her drug-addicted husband here because she couldn't see his torments anymore.
She brought her husband here so he could get his drugs and feel better, and he died in her arms.
This woman understood she couldn't save her addicted husband from death. She came with him here to at least know where he died and to bury him. And the moment his heart stopped, I hear her scream. I wish you all to stay widows here and know what it means to bury the men you love.
Her words became a curse. Every woman who came to live on this street lost the men she loved.
Help us. Help us, please. Impose protection on this village.
First of all, we needed to lure the entity there, and then close it down through the women's prayers.
Zhana Shulikova asked the local women to help her make the fire for the ritual, and she strictly forbade the men to approach it.
The fire must burn out completely. With it, the curse that killed the people will burn out too.
Thank you so much from all of us.
It's unbelievable what consequences the old crimes of the drug dealers have led this small village to. There is a saying that you have to pay for everything in life, and they say it for a reason. But the worst thing is that the price must be paid not only by those who did the cruel things or stayed indifferent to them. Often, perfectly innocent people pay it too. If you're impressed by the story, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to our channel. The most interesting stories are yet to come.